Hi friends, welcome back. I have some pretty big news to share today, and that is we found out for sure that I do have MALS, which is median arcuate ligament syndrome. It's very rare, but it tends to be more common within the EDS population because of our weak tissues. Basically, everything kind of stretches out and is floppy and isn't in the right place where it's supposed to be. So MALS is a congenital anomaly. You're born with this anatomy, and what happens is the way your diaphragm is positioned and the way your aorta and your blood vessels that come off your aorta are positioned, the median arcuate ligament, which is at the bottom of the diaphragm, it attaches from your spine and goes around your aorta and then back to your spine again. Well, that ligament is compressing the celiac artery that comes off of your aorta. And I have had issues since I was a little kid, as I shared in my last video, but they have gotten progressively worse throughout the years. And since I had my third child, they've gotten much, much worse. So we have been able to finally get a diagnosis, which is good. The downside to that is it's not anything that can be fixed with lifestyle or diet or anything like that. No natural cures for this one. Surgery is the only option to correct the compression. So I have found a physician. He is in Toledo, Ohio. His name is Dr. Bernardo Martinez. He has been doing these surgeries for 30 years. He is an expert in this condition, and so we are going to be traveling up there to have surgery on the 19th of this month. So it's going to be happening very, very soon. I will try as much as I can to document the whole process and take you guys along with me. My husband will probably be taking some video and some photos. I'm sure they will not be very flattering, but hopefully they will be helpful to you guys who might be in the same boat, maybe looking for a diagnosis, looking for some answers. I was on TPN, as I told you guys in one of my previous videos, through my PICC line in my arm, and I gained about 13 pounds on that, which was great because I really needed to get stronger for surgery. Well, then we went and saw a POTS specialist in Dallas, and he wanted me to come back this month and get a whole bunch more tests for POTS, and obviously I couldn't be receiving fluids in order for those tests to be accurate, so I had to stop the fluids. I had my PICC line pulled out, which was weird. And I have since lost 9 pounds since I stopped the TPN. So thankfully they were able to get me in for surgery very quickly. So hopefully I won't lose a ton more weight before surgery. So that is a blessing. Hopefully my body will still be strong enough to go through surgery and then to heal afterwards, having lost a bunch of weight. One thing I wanted to share, and the reason I wanted to make this video, is because it took me 36 years to get a diagnosis. It took me 36 years to get my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome diagnosis. Then it took me another several months to get my other diagnoses of POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and MALS, median arcuate ligament syndrome. I also have nutcracker anatomy, which means that my renal vein is being compressed between my superior mesenteric artery and my aorta. So that is causing some issues. The doctor doesn't think it's causing a lot of issues, but I am having some flank pain, and obviously it is a interference. It's a restriction in the blood flow in the body, so it could be contributing to my POTS as well. When he gets in to do the surgery, he's going to look and see if he thinks that's really causing me issues, and if it is, I may get that corrected down the road as well. What we're hoping is that when we fix the MALS, when we get rid of that ligament and release that compression, the SMA, the superior mesenteric artery, which comes down next to the aorta, normally in the general population, it comes out at an angle of 35 degrees or more. So there's plenty of space in the middle there for your renal vein and your duodenum, where your food goes through, your digestive tract. In me, it's almost parallel. So it's smashing my renal vein and my duodenum in between those two blood vessels. So what he's hoping is the median arcuate ligament, it kind of comes around here at the top of these blood vessels, and it's squeezing them in towards the aorta. If he gets rid of that, basically like a scarf, he said it's a scarf around those blood vessels that's just squeezing them. If he gets rid of that, the SMA, the superior mesenteric artery, may be able to, on its own, lift back and away from the aorta, relieving the compression on the renal vein and the duodenum. So those two other compressions that I have also might go away on their own after he releases that ligament. So that's kind of the primary issue. He's going to get rid of that ligament. He's also going to clean up the damaged nerves. There's a lot of scar tissue from those nerves being irritated over the years by that ligament. And then we're going to hope and pray that those other compressions will resolve completely on their own. And if they do, then I won't need any further surgery. And that will be such a huge, huge blessing. So I'm putting this information out there because it did take me so long to get a diagnosis. If you are pursuing a diagnosis, the place where most people end up when they get their diagnosis of MALS is after they've been through the system, usually for years and years. Because MALS is typically a diagnosis of exclusion, which means they rule out everything else before they will make a MALS diagnosis, which is wise. You don't want to be going and having major abdominal surgery, which it is. It's open major abdominal surgery for something that might not be your primary issue. So they're going to rule out things like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. They're going to rule out gallbladder issues. They're going to rule out hiatal hernias or gastritis. They're going to usually do an EGD or colonoscopy. They'll run a CT scan, usually a CT with contrast. Some other things they might rule out would be obviously allergies, H. pylori, celiac disease, those sorts of things that are generally more common, more easy to diagnose, and then more easy to correct. So for me, I had a battery of tests over the years. I started having GI tests back when I was in my early 20s when I had my total hip replacement. They ruled out gallbladder issues. They ruled out pancreatitis. They ruled out autoimmune issues. They ruled out allergies. They ruled out everything on the list. And then the problem is most doctors, especially GI doctors, because MALS is typically not a GI issue, it's considered a vascular issue. Most GI doctors, if you're going to a GI doctor for abdominal pain, they are going to rule out all those things. And then when they all come back negative, then what do? They say, oh, it must be in your head. It must be psychosomatic. You need to just do yoga. You need to practice deep breathing and meditation. I was told this by a prominent GI doctor in Dallas just a couple of weeks ago, days before I was diagnosed with acute, serious, emergency, you need to have surgery right away, MALS, by another physician. So I had this going on and I was told, you just need to meditate. You can't meditate yourself out of MALS. Sorry. If you could, I would try it. I don't want an 8-inch incision in my abdomen if I can just meditate. So if you're in the position where you have had all of those tests and everything has been ruled out and your doctors are telling you that it's in your head, please don't give up. Please look into MALS, look into superior mesenteric artery syndrome, which is another one that is very commonly overlooked, and keep pushing. Get the CT abdomen pelvis with contrast. That is generally the test that will show it the best. Also, a mesenteric ultrasound where they do ultrasounds of those major abdominal blood vessels. But here's the caveat, don't give up even if those come back negative, because I had numerous radiologists and GI doctors look at my CT scans and tell me they're normal. I don't see any compression. This vessel looks just fine. I don't see any stenosis. I knew in my gut that this is what was going on. I just knew it. And I kept pushing and I did not give up. And I found a doctor who saw it, who knew what to look for and who found it. And so please, if you've had doctors tell you this isn't it, your CT looks fine, your ultrasounds are fine, please don't give up. If you feel in your gut, no pun intended, that this is your issue, keep searching. Also, it's very important when you have the CT of the abdomen pelvis with contrast that it is done by a knowledgeable physician who knows how to order it with the MALS protocol. It needs to be done on inspiration and on expiration. The dye has to be injected at a certain rate, And of course, the radiologist or the doctor, whoever's looking at the results, needs to know what to look for. That's very important. Also, with the mesenteric ultrasound, there's a MALS protocol for that as well. It has to be done on deep expiration, on inspiration and expiration, so they can see if there's a difference, if there's a big difference in your velocity between inspiration and expiration. That will tell you if that median arcuate ligament is clamping down on that artery when you're exhaling and it's shutting off the blood flow. So if you have an inspiratory velocity of 122 and you have an expiratory velocity of 250, then obviously you've got some compression there. The other thing to remember is that different technicians will have a different approach and you can get widely varying numbers. I had my abdomen ultrasound done at one facility and my numbers were 50 and 70. 50 centimeters per second on inspiration and 70 on expiration. That's not even normal. Like nobody's normal velocities are that low. That is ridiculous. It doesn't even make any sense. The doctor who read that said, I've never even seen this in my entire life. You must have something wrong with your heart for these velocities to be this low. Well, I went and had it done at another facility and my velocities were 122 and 200 plus. So it was obviously the technician that didn't know what they were doing, didn't read it correctly, didn't have the transducer at the right angle. There's so many things that can factor into those readings, those results. So if your ultrasound values come back and you don't think they're right, have them done again, have them done at a different facility, have them done by a different technician. Just keep pushing for those answers. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all your support, for all your prayers, for all of your kind messages and comments. You guys are reaching out to our family and wanting to know how we're doing and letting us know that you're thinking of us and praying for us. It means so much. I appreciate you guys so much. You are wonderful. Thank you. Please like and subscribe to support our channel and support our family. Have a wonderful day and Merry Christmas.